Welcome, Power fans. We are back to cover the latest edition of Raising Kanan, Season 3. We are up to Episode 4. Before we begin, just to let you know, covering every single Power episode this season. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on your notifications to make sure you don't miss any Power content. So let's get right into this episode. The name of this episode was In Sheep's Clothing. So obviously, who are the wolves of this episode? I think we have a few, but none stood out more than our good institutionalized friend Ronnie. Ronnie was on one this entire episode. Let's start with number one. He's looking for a connect, and he's not doing it with any type of diplomacy. He's basically running up on people, telling them, I need drugs, I need your product. No subtlety, no trying to butter anybody up. Remember, this man's been gone for years. The first people he rolls up on are new characters to the show. I believe their names were Pop, was the woman's name, and Wendell Pierce. We all know him from The Wire. I think his name was Snaps. So basically, there's some old OGs, been out of the game. They sometimes put money on the street, but they're kind of insulated from the day-to-day activities, kind of what Stringer Bell wanted to do before he got taken out. So they're in a really good position. It's kind of funny that they would take a chance on someone like Ronnie, as volatile as he is, but they're in it to make money, and they are trying to do a conservative approach. They basically tell Ronnie, we're not financing your whole product. We know you're here, and you and Unique, your brother, are not on the same page. So we'll give you a little bit of the product that you're asking for to help get you started, but the rest of it has to come from other sources. So then we have Ronnie basically rolling up on people unannounced for the rest of the episode. He rolls up on the Colombians, talking about, I need product, I need product. They have to put guns on him to make him back down. The brother is smart enough to not take the play, but Juliana, like I told you a couple episodes, I think she's getting killed this season because she is just trying to operate above her pay grade. She looks at Ronnie and you can tell she's kind of intrigued, like, okay, this is maybe something I can get for myself or get him to possibly go at Unique and disrupt everything on the South Side. So she's going to get herself all tangled up in that. Ronnie cannot be controlled, and he's probably eventually going to turn on her. But she's going to get killed some type of way. Either I thought before it would be from Rock, but maybe it might be from Ronnie. The way he's acting. Now, as far as someone that he did take out, he took out one of the big OGs from the earlier seasons in Dean. Now, Dean, I thought was untouchable. He had a perfect thing going with his grandmother he's taking care of. He had goons all over her retirement home when she's playing bingo. I didn't see him getting touched that easily. But now we see that Ronnie, you know, he's like the king of these ambushes, these kind of horror movie slasher type of kills that he's been doing. We saw how he took out the bodyguard in the previous episode, smashing his head in the car door. This one, he basically shanks him like they're in prison. And, going back to another Wire reference, as you remember D'Angelo, his character, was choked to death, but it still kind of had the same type of feel with him being snuck up on from behind and basically being, brutally killed in a different type of fashion, but same type of setup as far as the camera angles. Um, I still don't know how he can get close to someone like that, like someone like Dean talking about Ronnie, but it does show that he is basically a quiet assassin. And anybody that could control him is basically going to be able to take over the South Side. But the problem is, no one can control Ronnie. Ronnie has all this ambition to control everything for himself. And we saw a break between him and Unique, which I think is a permanent break. Unique told him to his face, you ain't shit. I'm done dealing with you. I kind of looked at that as their permanent break. So now I feel next episode we're going to see Ronnie do something that causes a point of no return with Unique. That could be potentially harming his child's mother. Remember, she has no love for Ronnie. He's still sitting up in the house. Unique didn't kick him out the house. So I could see him harming her. We know he has eyes on taking out Rock because he looks at her as competition, even though Unique and Rock are supposedly done at this point on amicable terms. We know obviously they still have feelings for each other. So if Unique gets any inkling that Ronnie is after Rock, I think Unique will have no qualms about taking out his own brother because there's no love there anymore. So we have that angle going on too. I want to see how far Ronnie can really get with all this product and no one on his team knows. Is he going to be out there himself selling these drugs? That's one angle. I want to see how they play this because as far as we know, he's like a one-man army, and I can't see anybody willingly trying to work for Ronnie. So we'll see where things go with that. But that's the most intriguing storyline I'm seeing so far, and he's the big wolf for this episode. But there are smaller wolves. So let's go over to Jukebox. Jukebox got the great news. She's in the group. We have a three-woman group at this point, kind of a TLC type of fashion, it seems to be. The manager said we have a diva, we have a girl next door, and you're going to be the tomboy. Now, the diva is stereotypically a diva. She doesn't care for the other girls. She thinks she's a star. The manager gets her right together immediately, tells her that I'm the god, I'm the one that runs everything here. All of you listen to me and you don't pop unless I say so. The name of the group is, Butter, which I think is classic 90s. I'm surprised nobody thought of that back in the 90s. Now we had so many wild groups. I remember Nothing Nice was the name of one group. Um, why Envy, I think was another group. A lot of wild names back then. I'm not gonna take y'all back down memory lane and show you how old I am. But we'll see how this group does. I want to see how they're dressed. Obviously Jukebox is gonna be the tomboy. So I think she's gonna retain most of her appearance. But I want to see how the other girls look in the group because they still have to have a unified look. Excuse me. And the other big subplot, which wasn't touched on too much in this episode, she's in the group with the girl that gave her the pills in the last episode. So does that mean that that's going to be something that gets exacerbated as they're training, getting in shape, going on the road, a lot of sleepless nights? Is Jukebox going to get addicted? How is that going to go? And also, when we talk about wolves in sheep's clothing, we all know everyone in the record business is cutthroat. So this manager is not really playing nice, but she's telling them that if you follow me, we'll see if you guys can pop. Is she going to take advantage of these girls? That's something we're going to have to see too. So I'm not completely sold on this manager having the girls' best interests at heart, especially because there's no oversight. We haven't seen any of their parents, being involved in this process. They just kind of sent their kids off to this manager to handle business. So we're going to see how things go and how Jukebox is able to handle the music business. On the other end, excuse me, as far as another angle, as far as wolves and sheep's clothing, the last thing would be this whole cafe thing with Lou, Marvin, and the Cafe Boo, I think is the name of it, the owner, trying to set up this new business there. Everything seems on the up and up so far. But I think in this case, even though Marvin's been acting good lately, he's been the Good Samaritan, got the Village Voice reporter, his ID back and everything. They're going to start a anger management group. All that sounds good. But in his true nature, Marvin is a hustler. So you saw Lou had to kind of pull him back a little bit and say, hey, this is a legit business. We're not going to be running any drugs here. And Marvin said, okay, but how long is he going to be able to stick to that? Because it is a great opportunity. Liquor, people are loose. This is where drugs flourish. So is he going to be able to keep his word to Luke? This is where I think, Marvin can end up being kind of the wolf in sheep's clothing because I don't think he's going to be able to keep that promise. It's just too much money to pass up. So something to keep in mind there. And I think that can cause some friction between the brothers, even though things are going good at this point. And then the final thing we have to cover would be this big betrayal with Rock to Kanan. Kanan is still steady trying to get his independence. He has his weed courier business that's flourishing, and Rock comes up with this ingenious plan to plant a gun in Kanan's book bag to get him arrested and essentially being sent back home. And she called in a favor with Detective Howard, Kanan's father, to not get him taken into court. So basically, she, in one fell swoop, gets Kanan back under her thumb again. And the one mistake that she made was involving Famous. She gave a payoff to Famous, excuse me, and also was in the house again after Kanan told Famous, do not let my mother back in the house again. So this is the other big issue that's going to come up because you remember Kanan said, if you let her in this house again, I'm putting the hands on you. So I'm fully expecting next episode. Unfortunately, Famous is probably going to get stomped out a little bit. And I think in the midst of the beating is when he's going to reveal to Kanan that, your mother came in the house again. Matter of fact, flip that. He's gonna come clean to Kanan first that your mother was here and I didn't tell you. And then when Kanan starts smacking him around, he probably will admit that your mother gave me money. I didn't really have a choice. And then at that point, I think we're gonna see a break between your relationship with Famous and Kanan, where they're not messing with each other for an episode or two. And then we're going to also have obviously get a big confrontation between Kanan and his mother. And I think at that point, he already doesn't trust her. It's going to be a complete fracture of the relationship at that point. Because I'm like, where can you come back from that? She basically destabilized any independence he could possibly have at that point. So those are the big angles going into episode 5. I think the biggest one is really Ronnie and what he does. Because I don't think it's going to just stay with Unique. I think this is going to turn into a big war between the South Side, and it's going to rope Rock back into it. Because I'm expecting him to kind of show up at her shop eventually. I don't know how quickly she's going to get it up and running, but he have it obviously talking about Ronnie has it out for her and sees her as a threat. And then we also have to remember those cops that were outside Rock's new business. They're obviously corrupt cops. It looks like they want money on the side and they're keeping tabs on her. And then we also have, who's outside of Kanan's house taking these pictures. Are these the FBI or are these city cops keeping an eye? I'm thinking it's the FBI. And that's how I think Howard is going to get caught up in everything too. Because remember, I said in the earlier episodes, I think by about mid-season is when he's going to get into trouble, when all of his lies are going to start unraveling. And I think we're getting to that point because you remember this episode, the FBI agents brought him in just for some little questioning about, have you heard anything? What do you think about this Crown Camacho situation? He doesn't seem like a legit drug dealer, and Detective Howard was just trying to spin the same lies again, but the cops weren't really buying it. So I think he's going to do one other thing to slip up, and I think all the attention and all the heat is going to be on him. It might just be the fact that he bailed Kanan out of this gun situation. That might be enough right there to keep the FBI, eyes on him and keep the pressure going. So I think these last 5 episodes or so is going to complete kind of the downfall of Detective Howard. I don't know if he's going to get locked up, but I do think he's going to be disgraced as far as his reputation goes. So that is episode 4 in Sheep's Closing. Really good episode. I think we're moving along very well. We have a lot of good plots going on. Um, I still, Ronnie, even though he's not completely realistic, because somebody that's moving this abrasively will probably be killed in real life. But I like to see the contrast that he has with everyone else. He's literally like a slasher character walking around and doing all this dirt. So we'll see how long that can last for, but I would really be surprised if he makes it to the end of the season. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next week to cover episode 5. Take care and enjoy the holiday weekend.